So everyone who is like an entrepreneur or running a business knows that when there is a crisis and things start to fall down, the crisis is usually as big as the business. In terms of revenue, ad spend. If there is an issue, you're spending lots of money. It's probably a big issue. So throughout a long period of time, I created a set of rules that's supposed to help you deal with those situations. Technically, it was supposed to help me, but I want to share this with you. And this is really gold. This is the best of the best, concentrated. This took me really years. And it's supposed to make you to help you really take the right decision in that crisis within that time, not in hindsight, not looking back. It's supposed to really help you function within that time. So rule number one is don't get stuck. And this is kind of like a rule that's supposed to initiate something. It's supposed to move you into action. So it means basically that when you realize that you're in a crisis, the first thing you want to do is take action. That means that you don't cry, you don't go, running around the house stressing or something like that. You text someone, you start another campaign, you post the current campaign, you start a list of actions or things that you need to do in order to prevent that crisis, spiraling out of control. As long as you're still in action, that will help you from getting into like a victim mode or stuff like that. You're not letting the crisis grow bigger. The second thing is spreading your time equally. You don't want to go and just throw your time around. So, and this is a super important rule. All of the rules are important, but this is like super important. It sounds like it's more about order and time management, but more than anything, it's more about how you are and what you do in a conference. And let me explain that. I'm trying to kind of like concentrate it into like so it's much more about it's much more than that. So when you're at a conference, when you're working, you want to make sure you spend and spread your time into multiple things. So even if you have a lot to do in one specific task, like for example you wanted to meet a certain company that you work with or something like that, you still want to do the rest of the stuff, like for example meet other people, go to new events. Even when you have 100 campaigns set up, you want to find the right time to learn and read in groups or hear what other people have to say. You don't want to focus all of your day on one thing. You want to spread it, not throw time, focus time. The third rule is named bitch, be cool. Certain situations, again, crisis modes, yeah? So clients are not satisfied, ads manager isn't working, Shopify is down, internet is down, CPA is too high, your team doesn't answer you. Be cool. If you're not going to be cool, your team is not going to be cool, the situation is likely to grow, drag on. Rule number 4, everything is in addition to, not a replacement. That means basically that no task is instead of another task. Everything adds up to the tasks that you already have. If I tell someone in my team or I have another task, it usually doesn't replace anything else. It only adds on to the tasks that you already have. Rule number 5. Don't mess around problems, solve them. You can always give feedback at the end, but at the end of the feedback there needs to be a solution to the problem. You can call me, you're fake, you're too much in control, I didn't like your talk, I didn't like your book. Throw and bring all the trash that you can bring, but also bring me something that I can work with, some options at the end of the feedback. That's extremely, extremely important. Rule number 6 is, and I think this is one of the biggest rules, and I am going to make a larger or longer video about that because this is one of the things I talk about in my book. The rule's name is basically take what you want but pay the price. The rule is about accountability. In my book I also talk about how basically you can't move forward mentally without taking accountability. People work out at the gym, but they don't work on their mentality or like their mental strength, if you want, or if you wish. So it's about taking accountability, you know, because if you don't take accountability and you're saying, oh, I did that crash, or that campaign stopped because this client didn't do what I said, or blah blah blah, or blah blah blah, you're just bound to make the same mistake and go into the same situation again and again. Again, I'm gonna expand more on this, but at the end of the day, pay the price, own it. That's the only way to make you or your organization move forward. Rule number 7 is a good artist steals, a great artist copies. Again, there is no issue with stealing as long as you give credit, but you know, and you're able to say, I took your version of whatever that was, you know, a campaign structure, a book, a painting, a song, and I did whatever I did with it. So I changed it, I made it better, maybe in my eyes I improved it. I added whatever was mine, basically. So there is also an old approach in literature that is called the death of the author. Among a lot of things, it basically says that once as an artist you brought something to this world, it belongs to everyone in a sense. Of course there are copyrights and stuff like that, but everyone can remix it, change it, do a bunch of stuff to it. Rule number 8. There is no need to taste it if it smells like fish. As you grow older, at least that's what happened to me, you learn how to trust your gut more and more. And if you're in a situation, you talk to someone, it could be a Zoom call, you're maybe at a conference, and you feel like you're being scammed, you're probably being scammed. There is no need to go and taste, you know, the fish, taste the scam in order to know for sure. So just get out of that situation as fast as possible. This is really the only one rule in my book that beats Excel. You know, if you bring me a business, a deal, regardless of what it is about, it could be real estate, digital marketing, and all the numbers make sense. You know, we're supposed to be profitable first year, second year, first second of the business, regardless. And you know, if I feel in my gut that something isn't kosher, I'm not even investigating. I learned that you know, the smell, if it's there, you should stay out of it. And just, you know, a personal story, a few months ago I got proposed with like a restaurant business investment, very nice, luxurious, it was like a brand, but the person who talked to me couldn't really tell me what the marketing plan was like. You know, I understood the design, I understood the strategy, everything, but I didn't really understand how we're gonna get people through the door. And I asked something like 3 times, and she couldn't really answer. And every time she drifted and gave me different answers about the design of the place and stuff like that, and I tried to pull her back and tell me what was going on. And then she started also smoking in front of the camera, which was also a very bad and red sign to me. And to me it was obvious that I'm not gonna move forward with the deal. So that's kind of like a situation that really that rule applies to. Rule number 9. Even when you collapse, learn how to collapse. So I watched and experienced a lot of situations where things go bad. You know, lawsuits come, people who wanted to pay you or were supposed to pay you didn't pay you and stuff like that. And people react in really bad ways. They wanna get out of the business, they stop answering the phone all of the time, you know, they kill their grandpa, their grandma, they have cancer, stuff like that. Always, I don't know what's going on with cancer, it always goes up in some way or excuse. And you know, a few seconds, days, weeks later, the problem is being solved, and they look very bad in front of their partners or sometimes their life partners, regardless of business. And I think that this rule really teaches you that life is usually doesn't end within that situation or that crisis, and there needs to be a very hard situation for everything to go down dramatically. Statistically, it's very, very improbable that you also took a risk that would also risk, you know, your future and stuff like that. So basically learn how to hold yourself and manage the situation, or use these rules to manage the situation. Rule number 10: expect conversions, but don't expect too much. And this is a really nice rule about what to expect, basically. So, you know, sometimes it means two things. The first thing that I really like, because it keeps you humble, is that sometimes your meaning and position within the organization is just setting up the most simple campaign, doing the most simple task. You know, it's just to get, you know, the initial thing, you know, the most basic thing up. You're not working on getting, you know, world peace. Understand your position and never forget where you started. The second part to it is don't expect too much. Is at the end of the day, you might have employees, business partners, but if you have a goal, and this goes back into accountability, and you want to reach that goal, be prepared for things to fall down on you. And sometimes it's going to be even 100%, and sometimes it's going to feel like too much. So thank you, and let me know if you have any questions and what you thought about that. And again, for the main rule, which I think was number 6, I am going to make another longer video.